Hi, everyone. This is Jeffrey at Ripe Color, and my very special guest, who's really wonderful, Mr. Danny, Mr. Danny Bathrobe Tarot.
I paid you to say that.
Yeah. And the check is in the mail, by the way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And well, we won't go there.
So today is a special day. There's a lot of energy coming through. It's 8888888. It's Lion's Gate. Don't be late. No more wait. Okay, that's it. So,
That is it. No more wait.
no
No
more
more.
wait.
I walked in this morning when I get up. Normally I like center myself. I go outside. We have trees out there, which we're going to talk about out in our backyard. And I did a figure eight in the
Oh
trees.
yeah, very good. That's very good. That's very powerful. That's very
And
powerful. Yeah.
you know, and I have that path. It's set up. And
Hmm.
normally I just go in a circle and
Hmm.
then I go into the center of the circle and I go, why aren't I doing these eights? Why aren't I like walking around in a figure eight? Because it's, even though it feels like it's a roller derby. I mean,
Yeah.
what are those crash derbies in
Um,
cars?
Bumper, like a bumper car kind of thing.
Well, but it's like a big race where they go in a figure eight and they have
Yeah.
to, at which I'm like, okay, that's like really stupid, but they take these beat up old cars and do it. Which, okay, so I feel like a beat up old car these days, and then going around in a figure eight trying to avoid getting into a big collision.
I
you
have one
know?
cactus upstairs that has spikes. Like you just look at the thing and it's going to get you.
Yeah, right.
But
And
it's
some of the
beautiful.
energy
She's growing
today
like
is,
crazy.
yeah, some of the energy today is like that. You just look at it and it's feels like it's going to get you.
Yeah.
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 So,
So, so a lot of I moved to Mexico, and it's a big transition. It's a very big transition culturally, climate, everything is completely different. And my Spanish is still, I need a lot of help. And it's not, it doesn't feel very solid in a way. So I was talking to Danny, and we both, I I know that things are going on with me, they're going on with other people, right?
right.
And like politically, financially, diddly, everything is sort of like on quicksand. And I live in the middle of earthquake land, in the middle of a lake, surrounded by volcanoes.
Yeah. For those who
By the
don't know
way,
about Mexico City, I mean, it's like you built a city where?
I know. So, and the Aztecs had a much better plan, a much better plan. In any case, so I have to go out and center myself. I do feel more centered and I feel more connected to the earth here in Mexico, much
Hmm.
more so than I did in the States. Also, I was in the middle of, Manhattan, so that, had something to do with it. um, so I go and I talk, I listen to the trees. So there are a lot of parks here. And some of these parks are so big, it's truly a forest. It's truly a forest. I mean, it's truly a forest, especially the sections that I
Is it a
go.
forest?
It's called Bosque de Chapultepec. So it's the forest of the Grasshopper Hill.
Oh,
And
cool.
that's the solid ground. So like
Wait a
that
minute.
big city.
The forest of the Grasshopper Hill.
Yeah, Grasshopper Hill. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah. So
Just jump
most
into
of
that energy for a bit. Just the words of that. The
yeah,
forest of Grasshopper Hill.
yeah. And there are a lot of forests within the city limits. I mean, the city itself is really enormous, but like some of them, I could still be in the city. It would take me 2 hours to get there. The city is really big. So I go to the one that I can get to by train.
Yeah.
and I just listen to the trees. So I find some grove, or I find some lone tree that feels right, and send it basically says, come here. And I lay down and I go, okay, what do you got to tell me today? And a couple of weeks ago, I had this one profound thing. I lay down with my arms outstretched and my legs outstretched, and I took my hat off and I lay, and I'm in it, and it was still the dry season. So basically I'm laying in dust. Now it's all green because the rainy season started. And I lay there too, and ants and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I give you all my pain. I give you all my sorrow. I give you all my grief. I give you all my distrust, all my fear. I just went there. Blah, 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 blah. And they were like, and when I got, it's like, they were like, thank you. Thank you. It was like, thank you for like giving, we use this as fertilizer. Give us everything. It's like, oh my God. And they were like, and come back. It's like, oh, and it feels community. It feels like the way it feels like for me is like the trees are a community. It's sometimes I kind of vibe with a specific tree, but
Yeah.
it's really more all of them. And there's such variety in the park. There's such variety. I mean, there are palms and there are oaks and there are pines and there's like everything.
Mm,
Because it's like it's temperate tropical. It's kind of weird.
yeah.
And so I go and I listen, and that really, really helps me to center.
Yeah.
So I feel supported.
Right.
I feel supported. And what I'm getting is that it has the wisdom. There's a wisdom because they're so old, because they've been here for so long, and they've gone through earthquakes and bad weather and political instability, and it's like they're just witnessing. They're just witnessing. And the messages I get are really profound and comforting. And yeah, so that really helps me. And you talked about
Yeah.
like, doing something in the morning, and I've kind of gotten out of my meditation phase lately, and it's okay. Um, I mean, I do connect with my heart, and I connect with the earth, and I connect with my angel guides. And it's that simple. I used to do a whole ritual, and right now I'm not doing it. It's okay. But I find it really helpful to like make the time, set aside the time to connect with your own light, with God or your angels or your body or the earth or all of it. And it's like the gas in the car. I don't know how else to say it. So I just wanted to.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I was trying to figure out what you meant by gas in the car, which is it's the fuel that keeps us going.
Yeah.
Is this quiet time and not letting, I mean, there's so much political noise. We talked about this a little bit before, and you go, I don't know what's going on. And, the political environment is shifting and changing, and it feels like we're on quicksand because are we going to sink? Are we rising up? But what are we doing? I mean, and that's for another show. But the getting back to nature, I mean, I am such a huge proponent of that and getting quiet. And you mentioned something too that I want to go back to, where you used to do all these rituals and now you don't.
Yeah.
And but you still connect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm almost
So
waiting for a new ritual to come.
yeah, yeah,
I'm waiting for a new one to come, and it's like, okay, well, I did this on Tuesday and it felt good, so maybe I'll do it on Wednesday too. And I mean, my only little sort of ritual now is I go to the park at least once a week, and I
yeah,
sit with them, and I see what they have to say.
yeah. The thing with that I find so interesting when now I flip back into when I was opening up, when I was becoming aware of all the voices in my head, acknowledging them for what they were. Sometimes they're, when the trees talk, when the plants talk, and nature speaks. It is, I would do a ritual, and now it's like, and I was doing the same thing. I was going, do I need to do a ritual? Because they just flood in now. And
Mhm.
so the ritual for me, number one, it will focus my energy more. So I
Mhm.
do like doing the rituals,
Mhm.
but I find I don't need to do them that much. I
Yeah.
was listening to this podcast, and he was getting us into this trance like state, and um and he goes, oh, I forgot to tell you, because I did this class with this guy. He goes, I forgot to tell you that if you want to do a prayer or an opening segment ritual to this, feel free. You don't need to, but feel free. Because I always felt a little naked without
Mhm.
saying a little prayer, a little opening statement, a
Mhm.
little protection, a little grounding. And he wasn't into that at all. And
Mhm.
I thought that I'm still in the phase of it's important to ground yourself. I
Mhm.
don't think I'll ever get out of that
Mhm.
phase. He didn't seem to think it was a big deal, but I think it's a huge deal to make sure you're grounded. And with the plants and the trees, they have so much to say.
Oh, I know. I know.
It's incredible. I mean, my challenge is separating the voices
Mhm.
because it's like, well, the roots have something to say, the branches have something to say, the leaves have something to say. And when I get in there and on this Lion's Gate portal where we open up to the higher vibrational realm,
Mhm.
if we allow that, if we step into that portal, we get all these messages, and it gets to be just noise to me because they're all talking at the same time.
Mhm.
They have no manners. They just talk over each other. So, and that's for me on my journey now, it's to separate the voices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you should say that because I went with somebody because she wanted to do like a photography thing with me, and she's a photographer. And there was this one,
Well, good thing because
yeah, right. Otherwise, it was click click and nothing happens. Which I do all the time anyway, you know.
yeah.
So there was this one pine, and it was really kind of like in the middle of the clearing, and it was surrounded, and I was like, "Oh, you're the one." So we sat, and the message was basically allow yourself to be surrounded by support, but it doesn't have to be as close as you think it needs to be. And the message was be your own light, be your own shade. It's like, oh, you know, you
Yeah.
have the support around you, but it doesn't have to be like usually it's a grove that I sit in, but this time it
Right.
was, there's something different. And I understand what you're saying, but I think that they kind of come in as a community for me because they know that I'll be like that. Maybe today that's what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and also too, I was doing something on a tarot reading where I flip the cards, and I'm getting this information, and then the message just gets wonky, and I go, what are you trying to tell me? Come on,
Yeah.
spirit, what are you saying? You gave me these cards, and they make no sense at all to me anymore. And so I just flipped them up, and I go, make it simpler for me.
Yeah. Or sometimes when it gets like that, I'm like, I need some clarity here.
Yeah,
I really need for it to be really
yeah,
clear.
because I'm really dense. You
Yeah.
said something. I want to go back to something you said that just to, because I think we got two different versions of what you said. You were talking about going to the trees, and they said, be your own light, be your own
Shade.
shade.
Yeah.
When you said, what did you mean by shade? Did you mean shade of color or
No, no,
shade?
like almost be your own protection. Be like,
Yeah,
be in your light and receive the light, but also there's a piece and part of you that you keep, you know,
protected.
right? That it doesn't have to be shared with all. There's a
Yeah,
piece that's
yeah,
there's a piece that you connect with, and there's a piece that you cherish or protect or like that.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because I thought you, that's the way that I took it. That, be your own, um, yeah, and be your own cover
Right,
so that you don't get sunburnt.
right.
But also be your own uh, variation of the light.
Yes.
So, right, the
Perfect.
shade. So, like, if the light's coming in, it'll just
Right,
throw a color at
right.
it.
Like different shades of blue, say, right?
Yeah, be a
Right.
light blue, be a dark blue,
Right,
be
right, right,
creamy.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Depending
yeah.
upon where the sun is, if it's cloudy, if it's right,
Right.
depending upon, right, exactly.
So, we can't be, yeah, we can't be the trees, the spirit's light, because that's spirit. We're just a shade of it.
Right,
And we can be a really bright shade, a really dark shade.
right,
And I think it depends on, how we are dealing with the human experience at that time, right?
right. I mean, because it could be the same day and the same thing is going on, and it depends on like the little glasses that I put on, so to speak. It's like, oh, it's not going to work out, or it'll be fine. You know?
Hang on, my phone keeps beeping me. Okay. I got a meeting with you today. How cool.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are. All right, I've turned my phone
See, and now
off.
we're practicing living in the moment together.
Yes. Turning
But I
off
like
the
that
elect.
figure eight. I'm going to do a figure eight today. And today, it's the rainy season, so kind of it rains every day. But it starts at like in the afternoon, usually 3 to 5 it starts, and then it's like 3 or 4 hours. But I mean, it can come down like the end of the world.
Yeah, yeah,
Then it
right.
ends. But it's coming. It's usually not in the day. You always have sun during the day, and then it comes later. But today it doesn't look like it will. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go out in it today. And I was there yesterday, but we went to there was a cultural thing about like textiles, and then the day before I went. So I'm going to go again today
Cool.
and see what happens.
So the word that I forgot, the figure eight is a demolition derby.
Demolition derby. That's right.
Right? So they have these old beat up cars, and a lot of times they
Yeah,
drive
I remember that. I
backwards,
remember that. Yeah.
right? And so this figure eight, and when I was talking to Nancy Jean, we did a Lionsgate show on it, and that image came into my mind as we do a figure eight, because we seem sometimes to be crashing into each other and or crashing into our past beliefs and
Mhm.
kind of knocking them out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why it shows up in the magician and in the strength card,
Yeah,
right? It shows up. And then the magician card, like the first card in the deck, is really like this: I'm incarnated. I've come back. I
yeah,
I went to spirit and I came back, and with new lessons, with new opportunities, with new hopes, right?
yeah.
Right. So that's what the eight, the eternity of it.
Yeah.
And the magician, the card number one, leadership. I'm incarnate. I have all the tools. Let's get it going.
Yeah.
And then later on, it comes up again in the strength card, which is card of Leo, which is an 8. Above
It depends.
10.
Or it's 11.
I know, but I always read it as an 8.
I know. I got my new deck. A new deck.
Oh, so they're doing that. They're doing that one.
Well, this new deck is an old deck. It's Mother Peace.
Uh-huh.
And it's a little circular deck.
Oh,
fits
cute.
in my little teeny hands. And yeah, I go, oh, the strength card is 11. And I go, it threw me because
Yeah.
I'm not
And so it switches with justice, right?
I think
So.
I need to go back and redo my tarot basic knowledge, because I did that, in 2016, where I studied the cards and I memorized them and then I let them go, and I did all that stuff, and now I can hardly remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah. And I'm still doing the series of Tarot Tuesdays, and I did all the majors, and I just did the 9 of Wands. So this week is the 10 of Wands, and I'm going through everything. And then, so because I have to speak about it, I don't just give my interpretation. I have a book. I use one book, and so I read a little bit, which I hate when people do, but you always end up hating doing what you hate. And like anything I judge, I will bring to me. So I do that, and I'm like, oh, I never thought of it like that. So I'm getting new interpretations.
Yeah.
But the way I read is really my feeling. And sometimes I get the feeling even before the card comes.
Yeah.
So, and then there are certain cards that, like, I only have 2 or 3 meanings. There are certain cards I must have 40 meanings for.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or,
and it's one of the things about teaching, because I've been I wouldn't say teacher, but a facilitator for people to learn, either through diving or through business. I always ended up teaching part or being a facilitator for that knowledge base, even though I didn't really. Well, diving, I know diving, but in business, I didn't know. I just wanted to be better at it, and nobody was teaching it, so I taught it. And with every class I taught, even when it was with diving, that I knew. I mean, I've been diving since I've been 8. I really know diving, but every class I taught, I learned something.
Oh, yeah.
It probably more than the class that I was teaching.
Yeah. Because I'm teaching English now, and most of my students, they're pretty advanced, so they just need to practice, and they need more like phrases and common usage of language.
Yeah.
So I do 10 sentences, 10 questions to open the conversation. I have a topic, say it's geography or something, I don't know. And then I'll pull out the words that I think that they won't use, and I put it into vocabulary underneath. And it's like, I'm learning now. I'm learning the Spanish word for it, like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Or they teach me a phrase.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn something, teach it.
Well, yeah. And that's probably part of the infinity thing, right?
Absolutely.
I'm teaching, I'm learning, I'm teaching. Maybe on this side of the 8, I'm learning more, and this side I'm teaching more, and right?
Yeah. Or the top and the bottom.
What's really fascinating about ancient Mexican culture is that they really, and all of them, and there were so many civilizations here, they really understand the duality. They really honor duality in a really, really, really big way. So if there's a pyramid, there's the exact same space next to it that's empty. There's this sense of allowing the emptiness to be empty. And you can see it in the art. And it's like, it's open to possibility. It's open to its opposite. You know, even like one of their major myths is about twins. And
Yes.
you know, like the Aztecs were super bloody, but like super poetic. Like, like all at once. Like
Yeah.
all at once. It's like this is so it like it opens your head in a way.
Hmm.
Because I feel like in the West, it's like we feel we have to fill every single space. And it's a very different way of looking at things. And I'm diving more into that because I watch a lot of documentaries, and it's just fascinating. So
So when you say the West, don't you mean the North?
well, yes,
Okay.
fine, you know, no, but I mean Europe, you know, because I think in the East they have more of a little bit more like Japan's per se, you know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit more like, okay, we're just going to leave this, like the rock garden has a rock in it and we're done.
So when you're in Mexico, what do they think of? How do they perceive the North, the U.S., and not politically, not
You know, I think it's a mixed bag. I mean,
more of spiritually, or
oh no, I don't think that they can't even grasp, you know, so many people that I talk like they haven't been there and they don't it's very inefficient here. It's very like, let's see what happens. It's much more casual. It's much more that there's more of a sense of community here. It's just a different everything.
see, they just allow more space.
Yeah, yeah,
So in between work, and then they allow more space. Where up here, it feels like, I mean, when I was growing up, it was always work, 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 2 weeks off.
right.
And down there, and I don't really know, but it's work, take a nap, work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. In a
They
way,
allow that
yeah,
space.
yeah. In a way, it is. It's a very different way. It's a
And
very
I
different.
remember I remember my dad going, "Oh yeah, down here in Mexico, it's always mañana. So
Yeah.
don't expect it." And so I like that image that I'm getting.
But the image and is one thing, and living in it is a different. So there are days that I can roll with it, and there are days where it's like, this is the most unbelievably ridiculous, bureaucratic, redundant nothing.
You are such a gringo.
I am. I am and I'm not. I am and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really living in the middle. And I live in a Mexican neighborhood. I don't live where the Americans live. So I'm the only gringo here. I like that. I mean, I really want to live in Mexico. I don't want to live in any
Yeah.
place.
Right. And how is that with the local population? How are they?
Most people are really kind and friendly and
Yeah.
cool. And, you know, some of them really want to practice English with me. You know, some of them I think are like, oh, you dirty gringo. Some of them are like curious. Some of, you know, it's always, it's a mixed bag, you know.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're really warm, they're really friendly, they're really helpful, really helpful.
Yeah.
They like to
Yeah.
help you. They like to help. They really
Right.
do. They really do.
Yeah. I grew up, when I was growing up. I mean, I learned to dive. Speaking of diving, that I did. I learned to dive in Mexico, and I've just loved the people of Mexico. I love Mexico.
Yeah.
It's such a
And
warm.
that's the thing.
And
It's like people say, well, what's the thing? You know, oh, what's your favorite thing about Mexico? My favorite thing about Mexico is the Mexicans.
yeah,
You
the
know?
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so warm and inviting. And you hear these horror stories, but that's just, you just hear the horror stories everywhere. I
Exactly.
mean, you just have to be aware. And I don't know, I think too that when the time is up, time's up. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm,
So
and she wants me, I'm ready. I've been ready for a long time. I'm not looking for it, but I'm ready.
yeah, I'm still digging it down here. I still like this.
No, I
I
like it
still like
too.
going to the trees and listening to what they
No,
say. And
I'm not, I really like it. And I'm more alive than I've ever been in a lot of ways.
yeah,
But if she wants me, take me. Right. What are we going to do there? I don't know.
I don't know. Hey,
You think
go.
you think there's YouTube in heaven? I don't think so. Maybe there is. I don't know.
Well, there is, but it's like when you go talk to the trees and you
Yeah.
get this light and shade.
Hmm.
It's the YouTube light, but they call it something different. Yeah. So yeah, getting back to grounding in these just wild times. A friend of mine said,
I think it's really, really essential to carve out that space. And, because, when I tell people I meditate, the first thing that everyone asks, how long does it take? How long does it take? As long as it
I'm
takes.
doing it right now.
And no, it's like as long as it takes. How long does it take to get to work? Well, if there's no traffic, it's 20 minutes, but if there's traffic, it's an hour. How long
Yeah,
does it take to make tuna salad? Well, I don't know. Am I on the phone? Do I have an onion? Do I have to go
yeah,
get mayonnaise? Where's the tuna? How long does it? I don't know.
yeah,
There's no, but for me, like I wake up and I just go right away. I don't look at the phone. I go right away. I'm like, I just connect to my heart right away, and I fill it with light, and I fill the light. I let the light through my body, connect to earth. Back and forth, back and forth. I do like a loop from my heart. I go to my angels. Takes like it could take 3 minutes. It could take 15. I don't know.
yeah, right,
And then
right.
there are days where it's like I'm practicing, and it's like all I can think about is something that's annoying me all day. It's like, well, you know what? I tried.
Right, yeah,
I tried.
I tried.
Yeah, like I tried, like sometimes, you like, oh, I have a goal to get to this in this place, and like
Yeah,
car doesn't work, and it's raining, and somebody calls, and I have nothing to wear. Okay, well, I tried. Like maybe I got there really late, maybe I didn't get there at all. Okay, well, I'll go back later.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it's not.
remember I do that now too, and I'm not as good as every day, but I really the intention is, and not that I do set this up the night before, which maybe that would be a good idea, but when I wake up, I try to connect to my higher source.
Yeah.
And because when I was working, I never did.
See.
I got up and I had what I needed to do, and so I just got up and did. I
Yeah.
didn't connect. Well, and that's not entirely true, but there was a schedule that I had to follow.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
I
I was going to be
understand.
late.
I understand.
Yeah,
But for me, like it became a habit a really long time ago to do it the first thing in the morning, because
yeah.
otherwise the day gets away from me.
Oh yeah,
And then in the middle of the day, when I'm having a moment, I'm always having a moment, I could go back and observe myself and say, no, remember that, this morning they said, or
yes,
you felt, and it's like, oh, okay, I can tap into that.
yeah.
It's like an athlete tapping into their muscle strength or something like that.
Right.
Or, I'm not hungry in the afternoon because I had breakfast.
Yeah, and it's a muscle memory type thing.
Yep.
But that has been happening to me as well, where in the middle of the day I go, hey, remember when you woke up and you were doing your figure eight and you were doing your demolition derby, and you go, oh, watch out for that beat up old car that you're about ready to hit. Well, you just hit it. So now what? Back up, let somebody pass. So I go back and I think of that morning session that I had to kind of calm me and put me back on the right path again.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm successful, and other times, yeah, as you said, it's like
exactly. Yeah.
And I find that I don't allow myself to be successful in that. I just hang on to the, you know,